The air tasted like copper and ozone, that metallic tang you get right before the sky decides to open up and try to kill you. I'm Danny Russo, 48 years old, and I've been climbing poles for 27 years. Standing in that gravel lot at the district depot, tightening the straps on my gaffs, I could feel the storm coming. My knuckles were already swollen from the cold, permanent maps of every frozen cable and slipped wrench I'd handled since I started this job at 21. Russo. Why aren't the trucks rolling? We're burning daylight. The voice barked from the loading dock. I didn't look up right away. I finished securing my spikes, the sharp steel that would let me climb wooden poles in 80-meter winds, then turned around. Chad Brennan was standing there holding a tablet like it was some kind of royal scepter. 30 years old, fresh MBA from state, wearing a hard hat that didn't have a single scratch on it. His safety vest was so bright it hurt to look at. This was his first major storm as foreman, and it showed. "We're checking the hydraulics, Chad," I said, my voice rough from shouting over diesel engines all morning. "If a bucket freezes up with a man 40 feet in the air when those winds hit, he's dead. We don't roll until the equipment's properly grounded." Chad tapped his stylus against the screen. Tick, tick, tick. Like a metronome counting down to disaster. Back in the Navy, we had officers like Chad. All theory, no salt water on their boots. The predictive model says wind shear won't peak until 200 hours. You're wasting efficiency metrics on hypothetical scenarios. Wheels up in 10 minutes, Russo. I pointed to the massive bucket truck where Parker Williams, we called him Tiny because he was built like a vending machine, was currently covered in hydraulic fluid, wrestling with a pressure line. "Williams found a microfracture in the boom of truck 4, I said. "We take that out, the boom snaps under load. You want to explain that to Director Valdez when he asks why we lost a lineman." Chad looked down at his pristine work boots. "Brand new Timberlands, still had the price tag residue on the sole. You old-timers create problems just to solve them. Fine, swap the truck. But if we aren't deployed by noon, I'm logging it as insubordination. I'm not letting my first major storm response look bad because you want to play mechanic." He turned and walked back toward the climate-controlled office trailer. Didn't check the sky. Didn't ask about crew fatigue levels from the prep work we'd been doing since 4 a.m. Just worried about his spreadsheet and how the numbers would look to the suits upstairs. Tiny looked up from the hydraulic line, grease streaked across his forehead. "He's going to get someone killed, Danny." "Not while I'm lead," I said, staring at the bruised horizon. The clouds were building like a wall of charcoal, and the wind was already picking up enough to rattle the chain-link fence around the depot. "Get the gear ready. Check every piece twice. We're going to need everything we've got tonight." By 2:30 a.m., the world was nothing but horizontal sleet and darkness. The wind wasn't just blowing, it was screaming, a constant roar that vibrated through your bones like standing next to a jet engine. We were out on County Road 9, where the pines had snapped like toothpicks, taking 3 miles of distribution lines down with them. I was 40 feet up a creaking pole, fighting to splice a primary line back together. The bucket trucks were useless in this wind. Too much sway, too dangerous. So we did it the old way, the way I'd learned from masters, who'd learned from their masters. We climbed. My gaffs dug into the wet wood, each step calculated and deliberate. The safety belt around my waist was the only thing between me and a fall that would end with broken bones and freezing mud. The wind tried to peel me off that pole like old paint, but I'd been through worse. Desert storms in Afghanistan, when I was with the Seabees, working on power grids while mortars fell around us. This was just weather. Slack. I screamed into my headset, fighting to strip insulation off the severed cable. "Give me 3 inches, Tiny. Copy that, boss. Hauling now. Below me, organized chaos." My crew, 40 of the best linemen in 3 counties, were working in freezing mud that sucked at their boots with every step. Hauling heavy copper cables through debris fields, clearing fallen branches with chainsaws that sputtered in the rain. Their headlamps cut through the sleet like lightsabers, creating a strange ballet of light and shadow. "Sector 4 is live in 30 seconds, I shouted, locking the splice with numb fingers. The connector clicked home with a sound I felt more than heard. I slammed the cutout closed with my hot stick, a fiberglass rod designed to keep me from becoming a crispy critter if something went wrong. The hum traveled through the wood and into my chest like a tuning fork. 60 cycles per second, the heartbeat of the grid. Down the road, a farmhouse suddenly blazed with light. Then a street lamp flickered on, then another. The whole valley began to glow orange against the storm, like someone was turning on Christmas decorations. A cheer went up from the guys on the ground, barely audible over the gale, but I could see them pumping their fists, clapping each other on the back. Another sector restored, another piece of the puzzle back online. Outstanding work, Danny. Come down before you turn into an icicle up there. I began the descent, stepping carefully on gaffs that wanted to slip on the ice-slicked pole. My legs were burning from holding a rigid stance for the better part of 2 hours, and my core temperature had dropped enough that I couldn't feel my nose. When my boots finally hit the mud, I stumbled. Tiny grabbed my harness to steady me. "That's 16 hours straight," he said, handing me a thermos of coffee that had gone lukewarm hours ago. "The guys are running on fumes. We need rotation. Where's Brennan?" I asked, wiping sleet from my eyes with the back of my work glove. Tiny pointed toward the command vehicle. A heated SUV parked 200 yards away on the pavement, engine running, hazard lights flashing like a beacon of comfort in the chaos. "He radioed about 10 minutes ago," Tiny said, his voice dripping with the kind of disdain you reserve for people who've never had their hands dirty. "Asked why the GPS trackers on our trucks aren't moving fast enough. Says the optics of stationary assets look bad on his dashboard." I stared at that SUV, wipers going back and forth, exhaust steaming in the cold air. I had 40 men out here freezing their asses off, dodging falling branches and live wires, working through conditions that would make most people curl up and cry. And our fearless leader was worried that our little icons weren't dancing around his computer screen fast enough. "Let's go," I said, spitting out the taste of rain and copper. "The substation on Route 1 is next. Hospitals running on backup generators, and those diesels won't last much longer." The sun rose on a devastated landscape. It was 7 a.m. and we'd been awake for 27 hours straight. My eyes felt like they were filled with sand, and every muscle in my back was locked in a spasm that would probably take a week to work out. We pulled the convoy into the high school parking lot, which had been converted into a staging area overnight. The adrenaline was gone, replaced by that heavy, dull ache that comes when your body realizes it's been running on empty for hours. My guys looked like extras from a zombie movie, covered in mud, grease, and sawdust, their reflective vests stained brown with Georgia clay. Their faces were gray with exhaustion, but their eyes were bright with the satisfaction that comes from a job well done. That's when I saw him. Chad Brennan stepped out of the command trailer, looking like he'd just walked out of a sporting goods catalog. His jeans were dark blue with a razor-sharp crease that could cut paper. His work boots were the color of fresh honey, spotless, not a speck of mud, not a single scratch to show he'd been anywhere near the actual work. He was holding a fresh cup of Starbucks coffee, steam rising from the lid like incense. He walked over to where we were unloading equipment, flanked by 2 junior assistants carrying clipboards and tablets. Both of them looked as fresh as their boss, which told me everything I needed to know about where they'd spent the night. "Listen up, people," Chad shouted, clapping his hands together like a camp counselor. The sound was sharp and irritating in the quiet morning air. "I've been reviewing the night's operational logs. We're significantly behind on documentation. I'm seeing large blocks of unverified downtime between 0300 and 0400 hours." Tiny stepped forward, his massive fists clenched at his sides. His coveralls were so dirty they looked like camouflage, and there was a cut on his forehead from where a branch had caught him while he was clearing debris. "That downtime was us winching a 60-foot oak off a school bus." "Chad," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "Tree came down on County Road 12, blocking emergency access to the medical center. We didn't exactly have time to stop and update your precious app." Chad took a sip of his latte and shook his head like a disappointed teacher. "If it's not documented in the system, Williams, it didn't happen from a liability standpoint. That's the problem with you, field personnel. You don't understand that perception equals reality in today's corporate environment." He walked up to me, standing close enough that I could smell his expensive cologne mixed with the aroma of premium coffee. I smelled like sweat, diesel fuel, and wet electrical equipment. "Russo," he said, lowering his voice to what he probably thought was an authoritative whisper, "I noticed you authorized 3 overtime contractor blocks without running them through proper channels. You need my digital signature for expenditures over the threshold." They were cutting emergency feeds to the ICU. "Chad," I said, my voice steady but with an edge that anyone who'd served would recognize. "Generators were failing. I wasn't going to let people die while waiting for you to wake up from your beauty sleep and approve paperwork." Chad's face flushed red, the color creeping up from his collar like spilled wine. You need to be very careful about your tone, Danny. You might be some kind of legend around here, but I'm the one who signs the checks and writes the performance reviews. Right now, your entire team looks disorganized and unprofessional. I'm going to have to clean up this mess in my report to the director. He gestured toward our mud-caked trucks and exhausted crew. Make sure you get all this equipment pressure washed before the media arrives at 1,000 hours. I don't want us looking like a bunch of amateur volunteers when the cameras start rolling. He turned on his heel and walked away, those pristine boots clicking on the asphalt like tap shoes. Didn't even acknowledge the work we'd done, the lives we'd probably saved, the infrastructure we'd restored in conditions that would have sent most people running for shelter. Ragamuffins, Tiny whispered, incredulous. Danny, I swear I'm going to drop a transformer on his Tesla. Easy, big man, I said, watching Chad disappear back into his climate-controlled bubble. Let him worry about looking pretty for the cameras. We'll keep doing the real work. His boots are clean, Tiny. That tells you everything you need to know. Eventually, someone important is going to notice that detail. I had no idea just how important that someone would turn out to be, or how soon that observation would matter. By 10 a.m., the makeshift staging area had transformed from a recovery operation into something that looked more like a political rally. The local news vans were lined up in formation, their satellite dishes extended toward the sky like mechanical flowers following the sun. Director Anthony Valdez had arrived with an entourage of public relations specialists who were frantically setting up a podium and adjusting microphones. My crew and I found ourselves relegated to the sidelines. Literally. We sat on the tailgates of our trucks, eating cold sandwiches that tasted like cardboard and drinking coffee that had gone cold hours ago, too exhausted to do much more than watch the circus being assembled around us. That's when Chad made his grand entrance. He'd changed clothes again. Not into dirty work gear, mind you, but into a different set of clean work clothes. A crisp white hard hat with the company logo gleaming like it had just been polished. A safety vest so new it still had the manufacturer's creases from the packaging. He carried himself like he was walking onto a stage, which, in a way, he was. The press conference was everything you'd expect from a corporate dog and pony show. Chad took the microphone with the practiced ease of someone who'd spent more time in boardrooms than bucket trucks. He smiled for the cameras with teeth that were probably whiter than his hard hat. Ladies and gentlemen, Chad began, his voice smooth and confident. Last night, we faced unprecedented challenges. Category 4 winds gusting over 80 miles per hour, freezing rain, and multiple grid failures that threatened critical infrastructure throughout the county. I took a bite of my sandwich, chewing slowly and watching this performance unfold. The reporters were eating it up, scribbling notes and adjusting their camera angles to get the best shots of our heroic leader. But my team and I didn't hesitate for a moment. Chad continued, gesturing toward the staging area where our muddy trucks sat like evidence of actual work. We knew that St. Jude's Medical Center was running on backup power. We knew that families throughout the region were counting on us to restore service as quickly and safely as possible. My team and I muttered around a mouthful of cold turkey. That's rich. Tiny shifted beside me, his jaw working like he was chewing nails instead of a sandwich. He was playing Angry Birds on his iPad while we were cutting live wire off a minivan, he said quietly. The reporter, a young woman with perfectly styled hair that somehow looked fresh despite the early morning chaos, nodded seriously. Mr. Brennan, can you tell us about the most critical moment of the operation? Chad paused for dramatic effect, looking down at those spotless boots before raising his eyes back to the camera. It was a move straight out of Media Training 101. At approximately 0300 hours, the primary transmission line feeding St. Jude's Medical Center suffered a catastrophic failure, he said, using just enough technical terminology to sound competent without confusing the viewers. It was an extremely high-risk situation. I had to make the difficult decision to authorize manual restoration procedures in dangerous weather conditions. He paused again, letting the weight of his supposed burden settle over the crowd. I was right there in the field with my crew, coordinating every aspect of the operation to ensure both mission success and personnel safety. It required split-second decision-making and hands-on leadership under extreme pressure. Right there with us, Tiny repeated, his voice rising slightly. He started to stand up, his face turning red. I put a firm hand on his shoulder and pressed him back down onto the tailgate. Easy, big man, I said quietly. Let him dig his own grave. The deeper he goes, the harder he'll hit bottom when someone finally checks his math. Look at Director Valdez. Valdez was standing off to the side, nodding approvingly like a proud parent watching his kid in the school play. This was exactly the kind of narrative the company loved, young, dynamic leadership taking charge during a crisis. It played well with the shareholders and made everyone look competent and proactive. Through careful coordination and innovative problem-solving techniques, we were able to restore critical power infrastructure in record time. Chad finished with a winning smile that probably cost his parents a fortune in orthodontics. Because under my direct supervision, failure simply isn't an option. The cameras stopped rolling. Reporters swarmed around Chad like bees around spilled soda, asking follow-up questions and angling for exclusive quotes. He basked in the attention like a lizard on a hot rock, never once glancing in our direction or acknowledging the men who'd actually done the work. I was finishing my coffee when I noticed the black SUV with government plates pulling into the lot. It bypassed the media circus completely, heading straight for the operational vehicles. The woman who stepped out moved with the kind of purpose you see in people who've learned that time is the one resource you can never get back. It took me a second to place her. The last time I'd seen Abigail Turner, she was 22 years old and crying in the break room because she dropped a wrench from a bucket truck and was sure I was going to fire her on the spot. I hadn't fired her. Instead, I'd spent the rest of that afternoon teaching her how to tie a bowline knot with one hand over and over until she could do it blindfolded in a thunderstorm. She walked straight past Director Valdez, straight past the reporters who were still fawning over Chad, straight past all the corporate theater and headed directly for where the real work was being done. "Hello, Danny," she said, extending her hand with a grip that was firm and professional, but somehow still carried echoes of that scared kid who used to ask me 100 questions about everything from voltage ratings to proper climbing techniques. "Well, I'll be damned," I said, wiping grease off my palm before shaking her hand. "Abigail Turner, or should I say Madam Press Secretary?" She offered a tired smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Just Abigail is fine, Danny. It's been, 10 years about that. You look important these days. A lot more polished than the last time I saw you." "I'm tired, Danny, bone tired. The governor is wheels down in about an hour, and this disaster zone is supposed to be his big photo opportunity. He wants to meet the heroes who saved the hospital and restored power to half the county." She paused, looking over my shoulder toward the media scrum, where Chad was still holding court. "Who is that peacock?" I chuckled. The first genuine laugh I'd had since the storm started. That would be Chad Brennan, our new regional foreman. According to him, he personally saved the entire southeastern power grid last night through his brilliant leadership and tactical decision-making. Abigail raised an eyebrow, pulling out a tablet and swiping through screens of data. "Is that so? Because I've got the preliminary incident reports right here, and his name shows up exactly nowhere in the field operation logs. Command post supervisor for the entire night shift, but not a single documented field action. He prefers the climate-controlled environment," Tiny grunted from beside me. "Better for maintaining that perfect hair." Abigail's expression hardened in a way that reminded me why she'd eventually made it all the way to the governor's inner circle. She had that same laser focus she'd shown as an apprentice, except now it was backed by political authority and investigative resources. "The governor has very strong feelings about stolen valor, Danny, especially when it involves people taking credit for life-saving work they didn't actually do. He wants to personally thank the real heroes." She tapped something on her phone. "I'm arranging a private briefing in 30 minutes. The governor, Director Valdez, and our hero foreman. I want you there too, Danny." "Me? I'm just a lineman, Abigail. I don't do politics or press conferences." "You're the lead lineman," she corrected, her voice carrying the authority she'd earned over the past decade. "And you know exactly what happened out there last night. I need someone in that room who isn't afraid to tell the truth when the cameras are off and the real questions start getting asked." I looked at my crew, still slumped against the trucks, exhausted and ignored while the media circus played out 50 yards away. Then I looked back at Chad, laughing and posing for photos like he'd just won the lottery. "Yeah," I said slowly. "I think I can manage that." Before heading to the briefing, I made a stop by my locker in the crew trailer. I pulled out a battered leather notebook, stained with coffee, hydraulic fluid, and 27 years of honest work. This was my shadow log. Every experienced lineman keeps one. The official digital logs that Chad was so obsessed with were for the company, clean, sanitized, full of checkboxes and liability protection. But the shadow log was for us. It contained the real story. I flipped through the water-stained pages to last night's entries, 0215, Wind speed 65 miles per hour. Bucket 4 hydraulics failing intermittently. Manual climb required. 0330 Brennan unresponsive on radio for 20+ minutes during critical splice operation. 045 contractor crew denied mandatory rest break by Brennan despite safety fatigue protocols. It was a chronicle of every corner cut, every safety protocol ignored, every time Chad had chosen efficiency metrics over human lives. The briefing was held in the high school gymnasium, which had been converted into a temporary command center. Tables covered with maps and monitors filled the space, while state troopers stood at attention near the doors. Director Valdez was already there, pacing nervously and checking his phone every few seconds. Chad sat at the head table, using his phone's camera to check his appearance. Russo, Valdez said curtly when he saw me, "Miss Turner insisted you attend." "Try to remember your place." "Just here to observe, Director," I said, taking a seat at the far end of the table. Chad glanced over with obvious annoyance. "Didn't realize we were inviting the maintenance staff to executive briefings? Safety protocols require field representation during high-level incident reviews," Abigail said as she entered with a tall man whose graying hair and tired eyes marked him as someone who'd seen too much responsibility. "Governor Charles Romano, gentlemen," the governor said, his voice carrying the quiet authority of someone who didn't need to raise it to be heard. He walked directly to the wall map, studying the red zones where power was still out. "My engineers tell me we avoided catastrophic infrastructure failure last night. Lives were saved. That's good work. Thank you, Governor," Chad said immediately, standing like he was reporting for inspection. It was definitely a team effort, but effective leadership means making the tough calls when lives are on the line. The governor turned slowly, studying Chad with the kind of attention that makes guilty people sweat. "Is that right, Mr. Brennan? You were on-site coordinating field operations." "Absolutely, sir." Chad Brennan, regional foreman. "I was right there on the front lines, directing every aspect of the restoration. I felt the weight of the shadow log in my pocket." The trap was set, and Chad was walking straight into it. "Well then," the governor said, pulling out a chair, "let's discuss the critical splice operation on County Road 9. My technical advisors tell me that was the pivot point for the entire grid restoration. Walk me through your decision-making process." Chad smiled confidently and launched into a technical explanation that sounded impressive if you didn't know what you were talking about. He threw around terms like load balancing and fault isolation while describing procedures he'd obviously memorized from training manuals. "So you authorized the emergency bypass of the secondary transformer isolation," the governor repeated slowly, "and you personally supervised this high-risk operation." "That's correct, sir. It was a calculated risk, but standard procedures would have taken hours we didn't have." The governor stood abruptly. "I'd like to see it, the site. If it's as critical as you describe, I want to inspect the work personally." Chad's confidence flickered for just a moment. "Sir, the access roads are still hazardous. Debris everywhere. It might not be appropriate for VIP transport. I have an armored vehicle and a security detail," the governor said, already moving toward the door. "And I have you to guide me, Mr. Brennan. You were just there, after all." 20 minutes later, we were standing in the mud at County Road 9. The governor stepped out of his vehicle wearing dress shoes that immediately sank into the Georgia clay, but he didn't seem to notice. He walked straight to the pole and stared up at the complex array of lines and equipment 40 feet overhead. "Which component is the bypass?" he asked. Chad hesitated, then pointed vaguely upward. The primary crossarm assembly, sir." I stepped forward, "Actually, Governor, the bypass isn't on the crossarm. It's the jumper cable splice on the lateral cutout, wrapped in blue electrical tape." The governor squinted up at the lines. "Blue tape. I see it." He turned to Chad. "Why blue, Mr. Brennan?" Chad stammered something about standard color coding for high-voltage applications. "Because we ran out of red tape at 3 a.m., I said quietly, and blue was the only roll Tiny had in his tool bag. The silence that followed was heavier than the storm clouds had been. Back at the command center, the mood had completely shifted. The governor's casual demeanor was gone, replaced by the focused intensity of a prosecutor building a case. "Let's review the communication logs," he said to Valdez. "I want to understand exactly how this operation was coordinated." The audio files told the real story. My voice, calm and professional, requesting backup and reporting critical failures. Chad's voice, impatient and distant, clearly calling from somewhere warm and quiet. And then the crucial gap, 3 minutes of radio silence when a live wire was down on a public road and I was screaming for someone to cut the power. GPS data shows your vehicle was stationary at the Waffle House on exit 43 from 0245 to 033 hours, Abigail said, sliding her tablet across the table. Chad's face went white. That was strategic positioning for better communications coverage. You were eating waffles while my men were dodging 12,000 volts, I said. It wasn't a question. What happened next was swift and brutal. The governor called in my entire crew. 40 muddy, exhausted linemen filed into that gymnasium like an army returning from battle. When asked to point to the man who had actually led them through the storm, 40 index fingers pointed directly at me. Chad was escorted out by state troopers, screaming about his MBA and his connections. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in his office, wearing a tie for the first time in years, trying to figure out how to use the computer system that came with my promotion to Regional Operations Manager. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd spent 27 years climbing poles and running cable, and now I was the guy with the clean boots and the clipboard. The difference was, I remembered what it felt like to be 40 feet up in an ice storm, trusting your life to equipment and procedures and the guys on the ground who had your back. Tiny got promoted to lead lineman, just like I'd promised. The crew got new safety equipment, the good stuff, not the cheap contract gear. And Chad? Last I heard, he was facing criminal charges for falsifying safety records to boost his performance bonuses. Justice was slow, but it was real. Listen, if you take anything from this story, let it be this. In every workplace, in every organization, there are people doing the real work and people taking credit for it. The difference isn't always obvious from the outside, but it shows up when things get tough. Look for the people with dirty boots and honest calluses. Look for the ones who show up when the lights go out and the phones stop working. Those are the people you want on your side when everything falls apart. And if you're in a position of authority, remember that real leadership isn't about managing spreadsheets or impressing reporters. It's about the people who trust you enough to climb poles in ice storms because they believe you'll keep them safe and give them credit when the job is done.